Today on the Dennis Michael Lynch Show, we're going to be talking about what happened over the weekend in Qatar, including Tucker Carlson buying a new home there. We're also going to talk about Cinnabon and a video gone viral. White people are tired of it. They're pushing back. And Mandami, he's showing his colors already. I hope the president is paying attention. At least I am. Get ready. We've got a great show for you today, and it's all unfiltered.
Dennis Michael Lynch gives you his word, and he will never let you down. He will always fight for America.
The only one who really puts his money where his mouth is Dennis Michael Lynch.
Hello, I'm Dennis Michael Lynch, and I thank you for joining me today. It's Monday here in Florida. It is a bit cloudy, but I'll tell you, once in a while, I like the clouds. I like it. It gives me a little bit of break from the sun. I'd rather have the clouds and the 80-degree weather than the snow. I look around, I see the snow. My goodness, there's a lot of snow. I'd never want to be cold again. The older I get, I guess the thinner my blood gets, and I just don't like to be cold. I like to be warm. Although at nighttime, I've been pushing that AC up. I find it that I sleep so much better, not only with my DML CBD, but when I put the AC down to about 68. Oh, I'm sleeping nice. Anyhow, it's hard to get sleep these days because there's so much going on. And as much as I want to talk about something else, there's nothing more I'd love to do than talk to you about healthcare or building new bridges and roads and tunnels and even the Democrats. I'd love to talk to you about the Democrats, but you know, the Democrats are being really quiet. When people are being really quiet, there's a reason why. And the reason why the Democrats are being quiet now is because they see that the Republican Party is slowly but surely imploding. The infighting is just absolutely incredible. And I wonder how long this is going to be able to sustain itself until people wake up, people in Washington, D.C., people in the media, they wake up and they realize the fact that if indeed we do lose the midterms, which I know feel like they're so far away, but like I said the other day, you're going to start seeing the announcements of who's running in the next couple of months. It's going to jump on top of us very quickly. And it's going to impact whether or not President Trump is going to be able to make America great again, whether or not he's going to be able to implement his full plan. Because if we lose the House, he becomes a lame duck president. And I got to say that it's almost been a little lame duck already. If you think about it, he's not really getting the support that he needs from the GOP to get any laws passed. I mean, okay, we got the big, beautiful bill, and we really won't see an impact on anything from that until this next year. But aside from that, all we have is a bunch of executive orders. And those executive orders are going to be easily reversed, like Biden did to Trump, if indeed we lose 2028. You can mark my word now, mark it down on your calendar, that if Gavin Newsom wins the primary out of the Democrat hopefuls, and he will, he is a slimy politician, and therefore that makes him the darling of the Democrat Party. So if he gets into office, I can tell you that he will keep to his vow on the stump. And his stump, he is going to basically campaign for 2 years that if he's the president of the United States, he is going to undo every single last executive order by the Trump administration. Same thing Joe Biden did. When Joe Biden came into office, he undid 92 executive orders. That border went wide open, and our country changed in a way that is looking more and more like Trump is not going to be able to undo it. I think I could. I'd be focused on much different things than what our president's focused on today. And I guess you could say that's half a criticism, half an observation. And I don't know whether you blame Trump or Trump's team. I don't know, because I've never been the president of the United States, but I watch the president, I see what he focuses on and what he doesn't, and I sit here sometimes and just scratch my head on it. I also know that although people seem to think that he has the dream team around him, there are a lot of people within his cabinet and in that White House who would not even be on my long list of people to put into place. And I'll spare you going down each person because it's irrelevant. I can tell you who I'd get rid of and who I wouldn't, but it's not going to move the needle. Instead, what I want to do is I want to give you information today that's going to make you a bit smarter than you already are. And when I look around and see that we have huge risks of losing the midterms, and I know there will be some people here on the feed, there'll be other people throughout the day when I'm posting my stuff saying, hey, you got to give Trump more time. And I'm sorry, I can't agree with you. We're coming in on 1 year. I mean, we are 11 months into this, and there are certain things that just are not doing well enough to convince independent voters, even a lot of Republican voters, and any Democrat that may have voted for him. There's not enough to convince them that they should double down and show up in the midterms and vote Republican. And then to make matters worse on that, and this is part of where the show is going to go today with some of the things we're going to cover, it's not like the Democrats are doing a great job at messaging. It's that the Republicans are doing the most hideous job at coalescing together for one message. And so there's a splintering, and we've been talking about this ad nauseum. And like I said, I'd love to go into a different direction, but they keep on layering so many new things on, I can't ignore it. So what we're going to do is we're going to start the show here with a video. Now, you may say, what does this video have anything to do with Trump and the Trump administration? Oh, it has everything to do. I'm going to show you a video of a girl who works or worked at Cinnabon. And before we get into the nitty-gritty on that, understand something, whether you are seeing it on social media, watching it on Fox News, talking to your neighbors about it, it doesn't matter. This is the underbelly of what is happening in America, what the thoughts are. And if there's one thing I get complimented on, it's that I say things that people want to say, but they're too afraid to say it. Look, you're not a racist. I'm not a racist. But we're tired of having people in this country who do not act and appreciate what it means to be an American. They do not act like they appreciate being an American, and they certainly reject everything about our culture. And in my morning video on Facebook today, I dove into this topic, and I said, white people are tired of it. We are tired of being pounded on as being racist and having privilege. What's our privilege? Paying for people who come into this country and then steal our money and send it back to Somalia? Send it back, come in here and steal our jobs and send it back to Mexico or South America or Central America? And when we bitch about that, somehow we're racist? Is that what racism means, that you don't like to waste your money? Well, then if that's the case, I guess we're all racists. So why this connects back to Trump is because when Joe Biden came into office, he was a continuation of Barack Obama. He was Obama 3.0. And he left those borders wide open on purpose. He wanted to change the landscape fundamentally here in the United States. And when I say landscape, I don't mean the mountains and the trees. I'm talking about the complexity, the skin, the religion, the mindset, the education. We have been flooded with the third world now for nearly 50 years. And you're seeing it across the board. You're seeing it in our schools. You're seeing it in our universities. You're seeing it in everything. Everything. America has been watered down. And you know it and I know it. We see it. And the reason why we see it, especially those of us who were born earlier than 1980, We have been around before we made these stupid digital devices, before the internet, before AI. The people who are 50 and above right now in this country have seen the drastic changes in America like no other period of time. When I was a kid, we were still using the dial phone, you know? And then once in a while, when you need to get a dial tone, you hit the receiver, chick, 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 you try to get it. We're back to the black and white television where you just only had 2, 4, 5, and 7, 9 and 11. You had to get up to change the TV, you know? Your mother didn't talk to you. Mary sent me a great video over the weekend. It was the comparison of a mother from the 1960s and 70s to the mothers today. You know, today you get time out. When I was a kid, you got the spoon on your ass. But that's an entirely different topic. The point is that we've seen our country change. And a large amount of that change has been through mass immigration. And I know I talk about this every single day. My expertise in it are deep and wide. So you get more out of me than you will somebody else who's covering this. But I've always said it. Think about it. If you've been with me for 15, 20 years, you know what I've said from the beginning. I still can see it in my head. I'm sitting across from Megyn Kelly in the Fox News studio. She's talking to me about Obamacare, and I'm saying to her, you're missing it. People, the importation of people from around the world is changing America. That is the problem, because immigration, both legal and illegal, touches everything. It touches healthcare, education, crime, culture, jobs, you name it, national security. You know, she just looked at me like, how does my hair look? Do I look good today? You know, how do my legs look under this glass desk? It's amazing that people hold jobs in media. And I've been proven right. And now, after decades of you being told that you're a racist because you don't want to have people from South America and Latin America, you don't want people from the Middle East, you don't want the Chinese, they played that race card. And what happened was, not to me, but to almost everybody else in the United States, it put you on your heels. It made you step back and say, no, I'm not a racist. And so you started to defend yourself, which is what they wanted, because what happens there is they put a label on you. You're a racist. Whoa. What are you? I'm not a racist. Well, my friend is black and my sister-in-law is married to a Latino guy. That's what it was by design. And so because what you didn't want to do is you didn't want to be called a racist. So you kept your mouth shut, even though you didn't like what you saw happening. And it had nothing to do with skin color. It had to do with your country was being stripped from you. If somebody walked into your house today, my house, the majority of the inside of my house is painted like an ivory white. If some person came into my house, if I had a house guest come in here, and the next morning I woke up and I saw that my house was painted in green, I'd be like, whoa, what are you doing? Well, I think it would be better if this was painted green. Whoa, first of all, you're a guest in my house. Secondly, you didn't even ask me. Thirdly, if I wanted green, I would have painted green. Get out. Get out of my house. You don't deserve to be here. You will talk like that when it's inside your own home. But when you go outside of your front lawn, you go outside of your front door, and you talk like that, hey, I don't want that guy who is speaking whatever that is. Hey, I don't want that guy doing what he's doing. What's he doing? That's not what we do in America. What, did you just say that the people from Haiti are taking ducks and chopping their heads off and eating them? We don't do that. Now you're a racist. But here's the thing. When Trump started to talk, he was giving you and me the pass to say, if you don't like what you see, you're not a racist. Say it out loud. And that's why we loved the concept of Trump. Finally, a guy who was going to come down and say it like it is and give us the pass that we can say it too. And when they tried to call us a racist, we'd give them the middle finger and tell them to go F off. And that's why this was important. Because when Biden came in and Biden open the borders. And he continued what Obama said, which Obama said he was always going to side with the Muslims. We're looking around and we're like, whoa. Wait a second. This is the fundamental transformation you're talking about, America? I don't like this. I don't want this. If I wanted to be around Muslim people, I'd move to Qatar, even though we'll talk about later what would happen if you moved to Qatar. But I would move there. If I wanted to be around all Latino people all the time who don't speak English, I would move to Guatemala. That's not what I want. That's not what I want. And Trump gave you the permission slip to speak your mind. But now what is happening is that people are starting to question, is this administration really on the same page as I am? Do they really want to? Are they just talking a good game? Because there's more that they can do to shut down the funnel of what's coming in here. And so I'm reading online. I spend so much time. My day Sunday, I don't know what you did with yourself. I could tell what I did. I sat in this very desk and I worked all day long. And I was reading people's comments online. What are they saying? I don't want to hear about what Tucker Carlson says or what Candace Owens says or what Steve Bannon says or what any podcaster has to say. I want to hear what the people are saying, and people are frustrated. So now I take you to Cinnabon. I'm going to show you a video. This video was filmed, apparently, from what it sounds like and what it looks like, from two Somali customers who walked into a Cinnabon in Wisconsin. Now, if they're not Somalis and they're something else, fine. You can tell by the accents. You can tell by what they're saying. They are definitely, I would be shocked if they weren't. They are from a Muslim country and they are immigrants, no doubt. And so what the storyline here is, and in the beginning of the video, if you listen very closely and you'll miss it, but they are questioning the girl about her sexuality, about how it is that she gives off her sexuality by what she's dressed in. Now, the rumor is, and we don't have the video to prove this, but the rumor is that they were giving her a hard time that she was not wearing a hijab. Or who knows, maybe the girl behind the counter said something to the girl about her hijab or looked at it a certain way. But whatever it was, there started to become a verbal friction between the two. And at that point, the two, let's just call them Somalis, the two Somalis put on their phone. That's what you're going to see. Now, what you're not going to see in this video, because it's cut so this way we don't break any community violations, is the white girl behind the counter working at Cinnabon gives the middle finger to both of them and uses the N-word to describe them. You won't hear it here. You kind of get it. That's the start of the end. But she says it full blown. Now, when you watch this video, I don't want you to watch this from the standpoint of saying that blonde-headed girl is a racist. I want you to take everything that I've said for the first 20 minutes here and apply it. That the frustration in this girl has reached the level, the fever pitch, to where she says, I'm pissed off and I'm not going to take it anymore. I am going to stand up like President Trump told me to stand up, and I am going to push back, and I'm going to say things, and I'm going to do things that I naturally wouldn't do because I'm a good person, but you have pushed me to the point of where you've punched me in the face so many times you're giving me no choice, but I have to punch you back even though I'm not a violent person. Keep that in your mind when you look at this video. Play it.
Sexualizing your body makes you a better person.
Are you recording?
I'm gonna record you. Yes.
Do you want me to throw water on you? I am racist.
So idiot for
And
real.
you are an
Idiot. No, I'm not.
racist, and I'll say that to the whole entire world. Don't be disrespectful.
You ruin your life, by the way.
Oh, you talk about respect? You talking about respect? You are fired from this place, man. You're not gonna be working here. Suck what? Look how you talking about ugliness?
Did I stutter?
You're the ugliest person I ever seen in my life.
Good.
Fuck.
Your fucking
No, we're
face
not.
for
No,
what?
we're not. No, we're not.
Because you know damn well you're
That's
fucking
respect.
evil
That's
fucks.
respect. Keep squeezing that caramel, bitch. Get the fuck out of here.
That was my
Now, that girl got fired from
Sexualizing
Cinnabon,
your
and I
body
can tell you, as a result, I will never, ever go shopping in a Cinnabon again. I will tell my wife and my family, please do not go into a Cinnabon. I want them to be the new Bud Light. Now, maybe you think that girl took it a little bit too far. What I say there is that's frustration. That's frustration of a girl who's probably dealing with that kind of level of crap every single day working behind the counter. Now, there are other videos of that girl online where she is showcasing her buns, the Cinnabons and all this other different stuff, and she looks like she's happy working there. But at the end of the day, let's keep in mind, she's working behind a counter. She's probably making minimum wage, if not a few bucks over it. She's probably struggling to make the bills every single month. You got to deal with that, the people sticking a camera in your face. And she finally says, the hell with this. Now, here's the thing. This video has gone viral. And what's happening now is through the crowdfunding sites, not GoFundMe, another one, Give, Send, Go, or something like that. Somebody started an online campaign for her. Before this show, I looked it up. She was almost just touching $100,000 in donations. So arguably, she's probably raised, or people have raised for her, I should say, 3 times of what she's probably making at Cinnabon. Now, is it because people want to support her using the N-word or support her giving middle fingers to immigrants? No, not at all. That's not what my belief is. If I were to donate to that, and I can't because of where I am in the media business, but if I were to donate to that, why I would donate to that is because I would say, I'm tired of this. I'm tired of the same stuff she's tired of. Would I like you to use the word N-word? No. But the problem with the whole thing with the N-word, just to get on a little side tangent here, is that, there can't be 2 sets of rules. And that's another thing where people are pissed off. There's 2 sets of rules. If I use the N-word, my world comes to an end. In fact, if I used it, I would assume that I would be kicked off and deplatformed and they would demonetize me. But yet, black people can use it in describing themselves, or if they describe me in a negative connotation, they could use it in songs. So there's 2 rules here. White people are tired of it. We're tired of 2 rules. Now, we're not saying let's make that word, new and upcoming again. But what we're saying is, wait, you're going to hold me guilty for saying it, but you're not going to hold other people guilty for saying it? F you. That's where it's coming. That's the mentality now. White people have been pushed to a point of where it's like, wait a second, you're telling us we're racist, but you're treating us. You're putting me you're giving me different rules. White privilege? Where's the privilege of working at a Cinnabon for $10 or $12 an hour? Having to deal with that crap. That's privileged? That doesn't look privileged to me. Now, why is that? Could this woman be frustrated with the fact that she knows that she goes to Cinnabon and she's got to pay taxes? She looks at her check. She says, oh, I thought I would have made $500 for the week, but nope, it looks like I'm only going to bring home $320. And then she says, well, I wonder where my taxes are going. I'll tell you where your taxes are going. Your taxes are going for pay for programs for people who are sticking cameras in your face and trying to egg you on into being in trouble. That woman is frustrated because maybe she watched this podcast. Maybe she watched a different podcast. Maybe she saw all the reports that are coming out of Minnesota and now is starting to pop up. There's another one now. We'll probably report on this tomorrow. There's another one coming out of Maine. And there's another story coming out of Michigan where all these fucking monies that are coming into these immigrant communities are being squandered. It's fraud. We're getting stolen them for billions of dollars, and then it's all going home. They're sending it back to Somalia to freaking support terrorism. I just saw another video from James O'Keefe. James O'Keefe shows a video where undercover, where a Somali guy is driving around laughing that he's got 300. He picked up 300 empty ballots, and he says he's going to go drop it off, I think it was, at Ilhan Omar's office, and that her people were going to fill it out. Now, these are allegations. These are accusations. I don't know if they're true, but people are tired of seeing it. The stuff that is true, they're tired of it. And so she's sitting there saying, oh, my taxes are going to that. And so what happens is that people become guilty by association. 75% of the Somalis in Minnesota are on the government teat. And Stephen Miller from the White House said he thinks that that's a low estimate. So it's not too guilty by association, because it seems like the numbers are humongous. Every single time I see a Somalian, every time I see an Ethiopian, every time I see a Chinaman, every single time I know that they're sucking off my taxes. I didn't ask for this. I didn't vote for this. I voted for Trump to end this. Why is it taking so long to get rid of these people? And it's not like it's just one. I can sit here and make a 5-hour podcast with one video after the next of these people who are being taken into this country just pissing on us. I mean, goodness, I should have played this video, Ryan. Over the weekend, there's a Somali guy who films himself on TikTok in LA pissing, literally urinating on Donald Trump's star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. And it goes viral. This is what people have frustration with. And that's why you're seeing that video. And it's so amazing because now that she's raised $100,000 in her defense, all the left is going crazy. Oh, you people are supporting that sort of thing. Hold on. It wasn't more than 6, 7, 8 months ago that a black kid stabbed a white kid in Texas for no reason before a track meet, and $500,000 was raised to defend that kid in court. So it's good for you. So it's okay if you guys on the other side are going to support a murderer with $500,000. We want to support a woman who says, I can't take it anymore. I'm not going to be treated like crap behind this counter. And she gets $100,000 and all of a sudden we're the bad wolf. This is what I'm talking about. This is where people are frustrated and pissed off. I'll play you a video right now. Here is a Somali guy telling you and your family that if you do anything to a Somali, if you even look side-eye, you're not dealing with one, you're dealing with 50,000. We're going to come down on you. We're going to hunt you down. Play it.
If you beef one Somali, you beef every Somali. If there's one thing about Somalis, they are going to ride out for their Somali brothers and sisters. They are going to crash out. They don't do one-on-ones. They're gonna jump you. Abdi's gonna go tell Rekta, who's gonna go tell her brother Mo, who's gonna go tell Naiman, she's gonna tell her Upti. You are fucked. You are well and truly pissed if you get into beef with a Somali, because word will get out that you're beefing the Malis. And then it's up from there. Even if you think that Somali is miskeen, they just watch anime and play PlayStation. They have someone in their network that is a trapper, that is on job. The Somali network is bigger than Google. It's even faster than Google. Next time you get into beef with a Somali, if you ever do, just let it slide. Because I promise you, you are going to have like 50,000 man on your case if you beef a Somali.
Yeah. So now you're being told that if you dare say or do anything to a Somalian, we're going to gang you up. What are you going to do? Really? You're going to come get me? What are you going to try to film me and get me fired? Is that girl now? Is this guy suggesting that girl now winds up having a target on her back? No doubt, yes. No doubt, yes. You want to know what else I see here? It's amazing. Amazing. They're dealing with the wrong guy, though. Because I have absolutely zero fear. None. I don't live in fear. I live 9/11. You can't do anything worse to me. Now on Facebook, you know what the Qataris and the Saudis and the Kuwaitis, what they're all doing in part of their campaign, not only to just drive Israel into Armageddon, but to take the Americans down. They're taking voices like mine. And now my page gets bombarded. Every post I put, I get bombarded with people with names that would never follow me. People from the third world. I mean, I can't tell you how popular I am right now in the third world. I got a guy yesterday from Afghanistan telling me I'm wrong, I'm a racist, Israel sucks, whatever. You know what I responded back to him? I said, when are you going to take a shower? You know, it's a bot. It's a total bot. They're using a campaign to try to take down voices of reason, voices of truth. It is total propaganda. And it's on steroids. We're going to get to that in a moment. But there's one thing I never hear. And again, I say it on every show, and I'm going to say it again here today. I am not pro-Israel. I am not anti-Israel. I am pro-America. I am anti-giving my money away to the rest of the world. It's that simple. There is absolutely no reason why I should be giving $60 billion of our tax money to other countries when our country is in the sort of condition it is. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, the condition it is, go look at your bridges, your tunnels, your interstates. Go look at your train system. Go look at the way that the airports look. Go look at the schools we have open for shooters to go in there. We should have more security. Go look at how many vets and families, mothers and children, are living in the streets of the United States of America, can't afford to go get anything, grabbing food out of a garbage can. And yeah, you may say, well, they're drug addicts and they're alcoholics. That would be somebody who doesn't understand homelessness. I made a whole film on this. Let me give you a little bit of a statistic that changes from year to year, but always within the same realm of which I'm going to give it to you. 70% of homeless people in the United States of America are what's called episodic homelessness. That means that an episode happened in their life. They lost their job. Their wife got sick. Something happened to where all their money was drained. And now, after having no other place to turn, they are sleeping in their car, sleeping in a tent, and then sleeping on a sidewalk, because that's how the slide happens. 30% of the people who are homeless are chronically homeless, means that once they're there, they ain't getting out because they get hooked up on drugs, they get hooked up on alcohol in order to self-medicate. Now, I'm not saying that that's not what got them homeless to begin with. There is a fraction of that, absolutely. But the majority of people are episodic. And we have an incredible amount of mothers and children and veterans sleeping in the street. You're going to tell me that I should take $60 billion and give it to Ethiopia, that I should give it to Somalia, that I should give it to Egypt, that I should give it to Ukraine, that I should even give it to Israel, when I got people in my own backyard that cannot live the American dream? You can stick that statement up your ass. I'm not going to send $60 billion, $60. I don't give a rat's ass what dollar amount. I ain't sending it anywhere until every single American is living the American dream. And I don't mean these freaking importations you're taking, 1.2 million people every single year from around the world. I didn't ask for that. My fellow American didn't ask for that. Cinnabon lady didn't ask for that. We just want to live in peace. Let us get everybody living the American dream. Let's get things settled, and then we could reach our hand out around the world. But until then, we worry about the American citizen and the American citizen only. That's why we voted for Trump. That's what we want. We're not seeing it at the level that we should be seeing it. That's why we're going to lose the frickin' midterms. It has nothing to do just solely with the price of beef. Of course, that adds to it. But when you see all of the things going around and you see Tucker Carlson going over and championing for Qatar as if it's the next coming of Florida, you sit there and you say, what the hell? What's going on here? And then you lose your patience like Cinnamon Bun Girl. And here's the thing. Whether I'm pro-Israel, anti-Israel, doesn't matter. There's one definite thing I never hear. I never hear a Russian person come over and say, we're going to take over America. We're going to take everything. We're going to take over from within. I never hear that. I never hear freaking Ira or whatever other Jewish person's coming over here and saying, we're going to take over America from within. Never hear it. But when it comes to the Muslims, when it comes to the Somalis, when it comes to the Kuwaitis, when it comes to whoever, that's all they ever talk about, is about how they're going to take over America from within. They come over here, they get their free ride, they get free food, they get free this, free that. They scum us out of money. And then what do? They complain about the very place that we invited them into. Nobody wants that. People are frustrated with it. They're to their end. We are the most generous people in the world. We are the most loving people in the world. We will turn a blind eye and say, okay, fine, you're sorry. Time and time again, we're so forgiving. But at some point, you piss on our head too many times, we're not going to let you take a shit on our head. And that's where it's at. We got a video right now. Some Somali kid sitting in his car holding President Trump's picture on his lap, saying that he is so upset that Trump is not going to be alive for when it is that the Somalis take over the United States of America. Find me one video of a Jew who's saying the same thing. Find me one video of a Chinese person or a freaking Italian or an Irishman or a freaking Ukrainian who's saying that sort of thing. It's always from the Muslim world, and everybody just blankets over it like it's not happening. I'm not. Play the video.
My biggest fear in life is that this man may never witness our full takeover. Yes, he may never witness that. He already witnessed our partial takeover, our little success in America. And he is the reason, actually, I know that the community in America is thriving. He is how I know. It's like, he's how we measure our progress. If he doesn't tweet, somebody messed up. I know it. Somebody fucked up the plan. If he tweet, I know. We're doing the right things. Yes, that's how I know. So, he's old and sick, I know. He may not witness our full takeover, but I promise you that his sons will witness. Just like him, we came to exist in this country. See? The land of free men, the land of opportunities. And we're here. Yes. And we're not leaving, actually. We're not going back. What do you mean go back?
Back. Just reading the comments here. 2 comments I want to put into this guy. First of all, you think this guy's going to take over America? Well, maybe he's going to hang out with the other guy who's got the gang mentality, and they're all going to come at us one day. And all of a sudden, you're going to be sitting home and saying, whoa, why is there 50,000 people outside my door? Nobody wants that. Now, I was just reading. Stacy, didn't catch her last name. She said, my health insurance has just gone up to $2,500. Sure did. Do you want to know why, Stacy? Because not only are you paying for you, you're paying for that guy in the video. You never asked for that. And you want to know, hey, President Trump, why am I paying $2,500 freaking dollars? Get rid of these people. There's no reason for them to be here. Ron DeSantis, I love him. I love him to the moon and back. He's talking about, well, we're going to lower the tax rate on your property taxes or eliminate them. I'll tell you what. Let's start a different way, although I'm all for it because, listen, I'll save $33,000 a year. Are you kidding me? How about we get rid of all the people who are in the country? I mean, and then the people in this state, we got 2+ million people in this state living here illegally. I got to pay for their health. I got to pay for their education. I got to pay for their EBT card. Get them the hell out. That will save a ton of money. Ton. And then somebody else wrote, black people don't like the Somalis either. Listen, when I say Americans, I'm talking about all colors, all shades. All shades. I have for years said every single time you freaking let another person in through that border or you taking another person through legal immigration, you are taking the minorities and the kids, no matter what color they are, you are sticking them in a hole. Because a lot of those communities and our youngsters, they need those entry-level jobs to get started. And you're taking it away from them. I will never forget, ever forget. I've played the video 1,000,000 times. I go into South Chicago. This is back in my Fox News days. Hannity says, hey, man, you want to go, film some good stuff. I'll put you on. Okay, I'm in Chicago visiting a friend. He knows a cop in South Chicago. He hooks me up. We're driving around. I felt like I was in another country. I'm like, oh my God, this is crazy. Drugs everywhere. The houses all boarded up. Terrible. I said, what's going on here? And he says, hey, man, they can't get out of their own way. They can't get out of their own way. That people try to work here, but then they let the crime run rampant. Who the hell's going to open a business here? There's no jobs for these people. I see this young black kid. He's got to be 16 years old. He comes out of a church. I pull over. I say to the cop, let me interview this kid. Nicest kid in the world. Polite, called me sir, the whole 9 yards. Dressed really nice. And I said to him, do you have a job? He says, I can't find a job. Why can't you find a job? I can't find a job because they're giving it to all the illegal aliens. Now, this is a kid who doesn't know who the hell I am. I said, what are you talking about? Well, I would like to do construction job, cut lawns, do mason, something. I can't get jobs anywhere. And that's why this kid will never escape where he is. And if you don't think that the U.S. government wants to keep these people down so they keep on voting Democrat, there's a reason why all the cities always have Democrats. Because these people, we have made it to where we're taking $60 billion and sending it overseas every single year, and we're leaving our own cities to freaking melt. And so we give people no chance. And so they have to vote for a Democrat. And then what happens is they get into that mentality. And once you get them into mentality, they ain't getting back. It's the same thing I talked about 2 minutes ago with the homelessness. When you take a homeless person, and again, I studied this. I did a whole film on this. I spoke to the experts about this. They said, Dennis, it's about a 3-week, 4-week slide. When a person goes into homelessness, it may start off, they're sleeping in a friend's house. They can't stay there forever. They move to the car. They can't stay in the car forever. It gets too cold. They go into a shelter. Shelters only let you stay there for so long. Then they move into a tent. At about 30 days, the mentality of, I'm going to get out of this, we're going to get out of this, turns to, we're never going to get out of this. Turns to, I got to make myself feel a little better. And that's why it is that they're buying the $2 hits, the $5 hits. And they'll never get out of it. They get hooked on the drugs. The same thing happens to these minority communities. You know, hey, I'll go to school and I'll learn. And then you see that the teachers aren't teaching anything because you're filled up with all people who can't speak any English. Or the fathers take off. And then you get very rare do you get the mother and the son, like a Ben Carlson, who's going to say, hey, we're going to stick through this. You're not going to go do that crazy stuff. You're going to wind up becoming something one day, and they become a surgeon. But what winds up happening in most cases is that slide happens. I'm never going to get out of this. I'm not going to go work at Popeye's Chicken for $7 an hour. I'm going to sell a dime bag for $100 or whatever it is the stuff is going for these days. I'm going to sell I'm going to sell a dime bag for $100, a dime bag for $10. Sorry, but I'm going to sell 10 of them. I'm going to make $100 in an hour versus $100 in a week working at Popeye's Chicken. And that's what winds up happening. That's what happens. Because our country has gone upside down and inside out, taking care of everybody else but ourselves. And you know who does that? Weak leadership. Weak leadership. You start to focus on everybody else's problems when you can't solve your own. That's the truth. That's the truth. I take you to New York. Over the weekend, I'm sitting here, and I got my Twitter feeds and everything else is there. And I see Mamdani. Oh, haven't heard from him in a week. What's going on with him? And he's got a video where he is explicitly talking about defying ICE. And yet he does it in such a cunning Obama way. We're going to play the full video here. It lasts for about a minute. Notice two things. He never uses the word illegal or undocumented. We're never going to hear him call an alien an alien. He never uses that. He talks about it in words like New Yorkers and immigrants, thus never putting himself where he incriminates himself. But you know and I know he is specifically talking to illegal aliens. He is aiding and abetting and getting in the way, as far as I'm concerned, in my opinion, getting in the way of ICE investigations. Play it.
Last weekend, ICE attempted to raid Canal Street and detain our immigrant neighbors. As mayor, I'll protect the rights of every single New Yorker, and that includes the more than 3 million immigrants who call this city their home. But we can all stand up to ICE if you know your rights. If you encounter ICE, these are the things that every New Yorker should know. First, ICE cannot enter into private spaces like your home, school, or a private area of your workplace without a judicial warrant signed by a judge. That looks like this. If ICE does not have a judicial warrant signed by a judge, you have the right to say, I do not consent to entry, and the right to keep your door closed. Sometimes ICE will show you paperwork that looks like this and tell you that they have the right to arrest you. That is false. ICE is legally allowed to lie to you, but you have the right to remain silent. If you're being detained, you may always ask, am I free to go, repeatedly until they answer you. You are legally allowed to film ICE as long as you do not interfere with an arrest. It is important to remain calm during any interaction with ICE or law enforcement. Do not impede their investigation, resist arrest, or run. One last thing. New Yorkers have a constitutional right to protest, and when I'm mayor, we will protect that right. New York will always welcome immigrants, and I will fight each and every day to protect, support, and celebrate our immigrant brothers and sisters.
So there you go. What's the first video? What's the first PSA, public service announcement this guy's putting out about illegal aliens, protecting them from ICE? Now, look, I know some of you will tell me that Trump's playing 4D chess. I don't align with you on that one. I think Trump was really nice to this guy after calling him all the horrible names because Trump's got properties in New York and doesn't want to have yet another person going after him. And I get it. I totally get it. You know, Trump is another guy. I mean, Trump is the Cinnabon woman. He's been picked on so many times unfairly. He's just like, I can't take this anymore, man. Just, all right, I'll be nice to this guy. And at some point, maybe we deal with him. Well, we're going to be able to deal with this guy on day one. We'll have him dead to rights. That's a legal term, meaning we're going to have him. The function of going and getting him, however, is a decision made by Trump and the Department of Justice. He is going to aid and abet. Make no mistake, he is going to trip up. As the mayor, he cannot knowingly provide services or help illegal aliens remain. That is aiding and abetting. We could get this guy. So the question's going to become, and I'll tell you right now, if Trump doesn't do it, he's going to lose the midterms because people are going to feel disenfranchised. They're going to feel abandoned. They're going to say, you know what? I voted for you 3 times. You did great talking on the stump. Yeah, you ran around. You got ICE to pick up a few people. We got 50 million illegal aliens, and I'm seeing, a couple of hundred being picked up this week and that week, and then you go to the Department of Homeland Security's X page and they're showing one guy, hey, we got this guy. All right, great. Where's the other 49,999,999? Now, I understand Trump can't get all these people all at one time, but there's something that he's not doing, which I talk about on this show almost on a daily basis. Mandatory E-Verify. Stop having the people have a place to go for a job. Why won't the President of the United States of America, along with Stephen Miller, who is probably the one guy who you can say is smarter than me when it comes to this topic, simply for no other reason than he is a lawyer and understands the law better than I do. But he knows and I know, because I've heard Miller say it before, mandatory E-Verify would be one of the greatest tools to go and get people to self-deport. And here is a prime example. We have a video right now, first 1 minute, played for you. This is a carpenter from Louisiana. And listen to what he says. ICE is in his backyard, and now all the opportunities for him are opening up in a way that they haven't in years. Imagine if the president would put in mandatory E-Verify, how much better this would be. Play it.
So we've had ICE and DHS down in Louisiana for about a week now, and as a business owner, I've been running my own construction company since I was 18 years old. I'm 27 now. We do painting, roofing, drywall, tile, ceramics, trim, molding, carpentry, flooring, concrete, a little bit of everything. I'm seeing firsthand just the shockwave them boys are sending across the state. No immigrants want to go to work. None of them want to even ride in a truck like mine with a ladder rack on it. And it is so amazing. I've got more calls in the last week than I've gotten in the last 3 months. I got 20 calls in one day. GC scrambling to try and finish projects. Halfway through, these guys not showing up to work, starting projects. landlords, you know how a landlord always has, you know, their go-to guy they call. Boys ain't showing up to do nothing. And this just shows you how bad the problem is down here in Louisiana.
Yeah. Imagine mandatory E-Verify in place. This problem solves itself. Because what's happening is that the illegal aliens aren't showing up. They're not showing up to work because they're afraid ICE is going to be there. And so what's happening here? This kid proves my every existence. I've always said, get rid of the illegals from being able to get a job, and it opens up jobs for American workers. Here is a prime example of what I've been saying. Why won't the president do it? On Friday, although I think I'm going to play it on Wednesday. I'm not sure, either Wednesday or Friday. I got to talk here about our schedule. But this week, I've already recorded it. I did an interview with Congressman Salazar from South Florida. She is trying to put in what's called the Dignity Act. And she and I had a very nice debate. Of course, I was against her. She wants to give all these people work permits. And I said, you are freaking screwing the American worker. No, I'm not. Americans don't want to do those jobs. What are you talking about? Here's a guy right now who says, I haven't had my phone ringing. Now my phone is ringing and I'm getting jobs like I haven't had in years. And I said to her, why won't the president put in mandatory E-Verify? And you know what she said? I said, be honest with me. Don't lie to me. And she said, because the president is a contractor. There you go. It's his own party. And by the way, she's pushing for mandatory E-Verify as part of her Dignity Act. Maybe why it is that Trump and nobody else is even giving her the time of day on this thing. Now, I'm going to shift gears here a little bit. We're going to spend the last 15 minutes talking about Qatar. I actually went a little longer than I wanted to on my first two topics, but this is going to be a good one. It forces me not to go on rants. We will compact this. Marjorie Taylor Greene, for the longest time, was the female version of Trump. She was MAGA. There was no question about it. She said the right things. She pushed for the right things. She introduced legislation that definitely aligned with everything we wanted. And at some point, she fell off the wagon. I think some of that had to do largely with the president resisting against her. I don't know. I can't be in her head. But she went on 60 Minutes last night, and she said something, and I want to be very clear about this. Marjorie Taylor Greene has said a lot of things over the last year that I fully disagree with. And even when she was full boat MAGA, I never really liked her much. She just rubbed me the wrong way. But still, I would take her over, some other. I'd take her over Congressman Salazar, who wants to give illegals the Dignity Act. But last night she said something on 60 Minutes, which I said, I have to play that because she has said exactly what it is that I have been saying now for about 2 months. And this is going to come back and bite President Trump in the ass if he doesn't do something soon to reverse the optic of what we just saw over the last 2 months. Play the video.
You really feel abused. He did come after you pretty hard. He called you a lunatic, I'm quoting. He said all she does is complain, complain, complain in caps, and then he called you a traitor. So he hit you, whacked you.
Yes, he did this in the same time span where President Trump brought in the al-Qaeda leader that was wanted by the U.S. government, who is now the president of Syria. Then within a week, he brought in the Crown Prince, MBS, who murdered an American journalist. And then he brought in the newly elected Democrat Socialist mayor of New York. That was the time span that he called me a traitor.
Think about that for a moment. I don't care what you think of Marjorie Taylor Greene. You can like her, hate her, sit on the fence. But how many times have I said to you on this show, what the hell is Trump doing giving the red carpet to the freaking leader of Al-Qaeda, a terrorist? What the hell is he doing giving the state dinner to the Saudi prince who is got a lineup of atrocities that are just so anti-American. Why is he bringing Mondami? And then what I hear is, keep your enemies closer. Really? I mean, I got that same stupid response when we just had the Afghani shoot at 2 different freaking National Guardsmen, killing one of them. Somebody said, why did Trump give this person the clear? Keep your enemies closer. Oh, great idea. So this way somebody gets shot in the head. It's the stupidest most stupidest thing I've ever heard anybody say. Keep your enemies closer. And then they all go to it's the art of war. It's not. It was actually a phrase that was in the Godfather movie. That's what we're doing now. We're using mafia tactics. No, how about keeping your enemies far away to keep them out of your country? And if that is indeed a golden rule, keep your friends closer, but your enemies closer, what do you think the freaking Qataris are doing? What do you think the Muslim Brotherhood is doing? They're keeping Trump really close, and they're flattering him with all praise and planes and state dinners themselves because they know Trump loves the flattery. And what's happening is here, we're chipping away at our future. And she said it. Green said it perfectly. Because had I showed you that Obama had in the Syrian president, who had a $10 million bounty on his head for 11 years, and then after that, Obama was chilling out with the Prince of Saudi Arabia, who hasn't apologized for 9/11, and then after that was petting the arm of Mamdani in the Oval Office and calling him a swell guy who could make New York great again, you would have called Obama a traitor. But with Trump, now all of a sudden it's, oh yeah, he's keeping his enemies closer. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't equate. And this is why Marjorie Taylor Greene's saying what she says. And listen, there are a lot of people in this country, maybe you're one of them, maybe you're not, I have no idea, maybe you know some people who are, who look at Marjorie Taylor Greene and say, I agree with what she's saying. I just saw a video the other day. She was in Georgia talking to the constituents in her district, and it was packed. It was a gymnasium packed. This is after she already announced her retirement. These people giving her hugs. Nobody was screaming. They were clapping for her. There are a lot of people who are looking at what the president is doing right now and say, I didn't vote for that. Don't show me 2 videos of the ICE agents running around and capturing a female with a little kid, and then they're crying, and that's what's supposed to get me all excited. Why do we have freaking terrorists and terrorist sympathizers in the White House normalizing these people? I can't understand it. There's no good strategy. Keep them closer for what? What are we ultimately getting out of it? How about we just say, we are the strongest guy in the block. You've got nothing. You don't got a gun. You don't got a rocket. You don't got a missile that can take me down. You stay in line or I am going to F you up. That's the way I would do it. I won't screw with you unless you screw with me. It's a very stern warning. It's a reason why my kids never threw a punch at me, because they knew as many times as I pissed them off that they'd say, oh, I'd love to just give dad a crack. They wouldn't do it. A, out of respect, and 2, because they feared me like nothing else. Didn't mean that we didn't love each other, but there was a level of fear. You could get along and still have fear. The Middle East should be fearing the United States like you feared your father or you feared your mother. Very simple. Now, with that said, I told you last week, and I'm going to double down now. Qatar is just one piece of a puzzle of the Middle East, notwithstanding Israel. Get them out of the equation. But all of them, they all read the same Quran. They all have the same Muslim Sharia. They are all the same. Qatar spends gargantuan money at trying to manipulate the United States of America from every single last aspect. I am going to read to you one more time the amount of money that they have invested into this country. They have put in millions and millions and millions of dollars into manipulating the media of this country. And they often do it through proxy. Newsmax, $50 million from Qatar. I've told you that already. They've got the Al Jazeera network. That is all Qatar. They wound up buying out Miramax. I mean, they are doing what it is that they saw that the Jews did, Israel did, in doing the same thing earlier in about 100 years ago. I read this to you last week, where the country of Israel started to form media here in the United States, so this way they can dictate the narrative. Well, what has happened is the Muslims have figured out the same game, but they have 10 times, 50 times, 1,000 times the money. Collectively, they're doing it together. I'm just talking about Qatar, just Qatar alone. U.S. real estate property, Qatar Investment Authority, and related Qatari entities have invested tens of billions of dollars. One analysis estimates roughly $33.4 billion over the past 10 years in commercial ventures, including real estate, private equity, and hedge funds here in the United States of America. On U.S.-made weapons and military hardware, Qatar has spent over $9 billion on U.S. arms since 2001. Let me ask you this. Why does Qatar need to have that much firepower? Why? We just watched, you're going to see this in 2 seconds. Qatar just held a huge summit. Tucker Carlson was there, bought and paid for. Breitbart was there. The U.S. heads of duty, freaking Bill Gates was there. Hillary Clinton was there. Why are they all there? Well, I can tell you who else was there. Iran was there. Syria was there. They're all there. They're all one. They are all one. And the whole conversation, the whole weekend was about how Jews and Israel sucks. And Qatar is somehow, some way saying, well, you know, we're a great relationship with the United States. We love the United States. We're just innocent people here. Why would you need $9 billion worth of military equipment to defend yourself in the Middle East? Who's attacking you? Who's attacking Qatar? Iran? They share a freaking oil field together. Who's attacking Qatar? Saudis? Egypt? Jordan? Why would they do that? They're not going to knock out their own. I'll tell you why they're doing it. Because at some point, they're going to get the United States to a point of weakness. They're going to wind up taking over this country just enough from within to where they're going to have enough people in Congress, enough people in the Senate, and when we are at our weakness, we're going to use the weapons we sold them to destroy Israel. And if that's what Tucker Carlson wants, he is an idiot. Because that's where this is going. And if you can't see it, well, then you're just not as smart as I am. It's that simple. That is exactly what they're doing. They're keeping their friends close and they're keeping their enemies closer. But the freaking people in this country don't want to see it because they don't want to believe it. And the proof is in the pudding. You see this picture right behind me? That is Tucker Carlson standing next to his best friend, Neil Patel. They have been in business together for decades. They started and launched a thing called the Daily Caller. You may have heard it. It's a news website. Tucker was a partner in that with Neil Patel until he became a star on Fox News, and then he sold it all to Neil. Neil kept it. Then what happened after Fox News was gone? Tucker wound up getting Patel back in business, and they started the Tucker Carlson Network. Do you know who invested $15 million into his company? A freaking investor whose mother is Iranian and father is Pakistani. And for 2 years, they held on to that money until finally over the summer, Tucker Carlson and Patel said, well, we should probably do this a little bit differently, and gave back the investor with, I'm sure, a return on investment, back their money, because Tucker said, well, we don't want it to be perceived that we're being bought and paid for. Oh, really? Why didn't you worry about that 2 years earlier? Tucker Carlson didn't need $15 million to start the Tucker Carlson Network. Who comes up with that? First of all, if you've ever watched the show, he's either hosting people in his house in Maine or his house in Florida. Why does he need $15 million? That's the first question. Second question, Tucker Carlson is a freaking multimillionaire 10 times over. He was getting freaking over $10 million a year reportedly from Fox News, probably more towards $20 million. Sold books, gets speeches. He gets paid $100,000 up per speech. You think he really needed $15 million to launch a freaking business out of his house? And then he gives the money back, plus a little return. That doesn't smell to you? Smells to me hugely. Hugely. So this picture right here, he is in Qatar this weekend, and that's Neil Patel who's next to him. And in the post, Neil Patel takes that picture and puts it up and says, "Greeting from the bloodthirsty terror-supporting slave state of Qatar." And then he tags Mark Levin, Ted Cruz, and Laura Loomer. It was a sarcastic way of saying, screw you, we're in Qatar. And those are three people, Levin, Cruz, and Laura Loomer. And whether you like them or not, that's not the point. I don't listen to Levin. I'm not a fan of Cruz. And Laura Loomer, I don't know. There's some days I look at her and I say, wow, man, she's on the ball. And other days I look at her and I say, my God, she's missing a few balls. I mean, whatever it is that you think of those three, it doesn't matter. It is the perception of Tucker Carlson standing in Qatar, giving the middle finger to these people. And as far as I'm concerned, the American people or anybody who voted for Cruz, listens to Levin, or follows Laura Loomer. Those are all Americans. And he's giving the middle finger as he's sitting there in Qatar. When I posted that yesterday, people who've been following me for 20 years said that I was a fake and that I was posting AI photographs. And even when I showed them that the post went back to Neil Patel, they still stuck with it. Because people don't want to believe that the folks that they've put up as superheroes are being less than a superhero. That's the mistake. Qatar. The Prime Minister of Qatar just admitted on video that we're going to play for you right now that they lobby, that they pay money. And what he says is, well, I'll let you hear for it yourself. Play it, Ryan.
United States investing in Qatar, and this relationship has been always a two-way relationship, and we pay all these amounts for lobbying only to protect and to safeguard this relationship. If we were not being attacked and under a lot of disinformation campaign that's been unfortunately funded by other players who doesn't want to see a U.S.-Qatar relationship flourish, we would spend this money for better things, to do with the relationship.
Is trying to make the story the little Cinderella story, even the way you do it, like oh well, we're just because we just want to salvage the relationship. We just want to salvage the relationship with the United States. That's why. That's why we're doing the lobbying. That's why we're paying people to come here and then go home and write very nice stories about Qatar and about how we're such a great place. Really? Lobbying? How do you say that putting $6 billion into our colleges and university, how is that a lobbying to where you're trying to show the United States that you are just trying to be a good partner for peace negotiations? My ass. You have to be simply retarded to miss what he's doing. They are buying the colleges, dictating the conversations that happen in those colleges. You see the protests in the last few years all evolving. Who do you think is paying for that? The Qataris and $6 billion, $8 billion coming in from all of the Middle East, Kuwait, Saudis, all of them. Same thing, because they know that when they get the kids who are using social media more than people our age, they're going to brainwash these kids into believing that Israel is horrible, the Middle Eastern Muslim countries are great, and the United States sucks. I mean, you got this kid, Nick Fuentes, right now, who is the biggest thing since sliced bread, at least at this point anyway, for all these youngsters, the 20-year-old somethings. Tucker Carlson gives him a platform. Steven Crowder gives him a platform. He's all over the place, this kid. I just heard him tell Steven Crowder 2 days ago that the Muslim problem in this country isn't that bad. It's not that bad. This is a kid who has no experience telling you that it's not that bad. Really? It's not that bad? Watch how he changes his tune when he loses his country to all the lobbying. Because you want to know the one thing that's brilliant about the Qataris and brilliant about the Saudis and brilliant about the Kuwaitis and the Pakistanis and the Turkish. You know what's brilliant about them? They can figure us out. They know that we are all about the money. Jerry Maguire, baby, show me the money. That's all we're about. We're selling out our country to these people. They know it. They got it. They're nailing it. And that's why you'll see all day on my feed names that are coming from the Middle East telling me that I'm wrong, I'm a racist, this and that, trying to propaganda. They are just driving it home, baby. Driving it home. And Tucker Carlson is their latest victim. Tucker is now buying a house in Qatar, of all places. What's next, Tucker? You're going to start wearing a freaking sheet on your head? What's next? You're going to turn to Muslim? You're going to be Islamic the next 6 months? When is it that you're actually going to start practicing Islam? You don't believe? That was the other thing yesterday when I posted up there that he did. People tell me I'm lying. It's misinformation. Okay, here you go. Listen to Tucker tell you himself. Tucker Carlson is buying a place in Qatar. Go.
I am, however, tomorrow buying a place in Qatar. Both because I am
pay a high check
in Doha, yeah, and I'm doing that because I like the city. I think it's beautiful, but also to make the statement that I'm an American and a free man, and I'll be wherever I want to be, which I think is important.
So there you go. DML never lies to you, but people don't want to believe it. They don't want to believe it. So he's going to buy a place in Qatar because he loves the city. He loves it. He loves Qatar. He loves going. It's his words, not me. He loves it. He loves it. And then on top of that, he's going to prove that he's an American and he could go wherever he wants. Okay, so let's talk about where Qatar is in terms of how women are treated, okay? Let's talk about that for a second. First of all, if you are a Christian or a Jew, if you're anything other than Muslim, you do not get to live in Qatar equally. Unless, of course, you're Tucker Carlson and you're a propagandist for Qatar, then you're going to be treated separately. However, let me just give you this, what happens in Qatar. In Qatar, or Qatar, some people like to say it, in Qatar, women are legally treated as inferior to men under the pervasive male guardianship system, rooted in discriminatory interpretations of Sharia law. Adult women require permission from a male guardian, either the father, husband, brother, or even a son, for fundamental decisions, including marriage at any age, traveling abroad, unmarried women often until certain ages, with husbands able to impose bans, certain government jobs, scholarship abroad, and reproductive health care. A man decides all of that for the woman. Women lack equal rights in divorce. Men can divorce unilaterally, while women must prove limited grounds in court. Inheritance, daughters typically receive half of what a son gets. Passing citizenship to children or spouses, and acting as primary guardians of their own children even after divorce. These restrictions, documented consistently by Human Rights Watch, including in their 2025 World Report, and Amnesty International, institutionalize control by men, foster dependency and potential abuse, and violate Qatar's own constitution and international obligations, highlighting a regime that systematically subordinates half its population despite superficial claims of progress in education or employment. That is what Tucker Carlson right now is completely 100% supporting, up and down, left and right, no matter what it is that you want to say to the different. Now, with that said, I wonder what's going to happen with Tucker when he starts going to Qatar and wants to talk about Christianity, because all of a sudden in the last year, Tucker's huge on Christianity. He's had demons come into his house, rip him out of his own body, scratch the side of his body. I'm not kidding. This is what he told Megyn Kelly. You got to listen to the stuff this comes up with. But here you go. Qatar allows Christians and Jews to live in Qatar, but with important limitations. The law recognizes Islam as the state religion and requires non-Muslim groups to register with the government if they want legal status, a place of worship, or to raise funds. For Christians, from one of the 8 officially recognized denominations, Catholic being one of them. This means they can worship in designated complexes and have some official protection as long as they do not display overt religious symbols publicly. Now imagine this. You are saying, Tucker Carlson, that Qatar is our greatest ally. Really? Other than Tucker Carlson, if any of you are a Christian, go over to Qatar and in the middle of the street, sit there and praise Lord. Take your cross. Where's my cross? Take your cross, read the Bible, hold the Bible up in Qatar, hold up the Bible and talk about the word of God. See what happens. But if you're a Muslim and you come to the United States of America and you want to have 50 guys lay in front of the road on your prayer rug and shut down Times Square, go right ahead. That's an ally? That's an ally? That's somebody who's got our back, who's investing in America because they believe it so much, or is that somebody who wants to take it over? For Jews and for religious groups not formally registered, the situation is more restricted. Organized community worship spaces are generally not provided, and worship is only permitted privately. So if you're a Jew, you better do it where we can't see you, because if we see you, well, Lord knows what happens to you. I should have looked that up. What happens if you do something like that? In fact, let's do that right now. What happens to a Jew in Qatar if they pray publicly? Let's see. Let's see what we get on that answer. Now, you don't believe me about Tucker Carlson buying a place? Ryan, can you play the video? Or did we play it already? We did play it. Sorry. So caught up, I forgot to do it. Okay. If a Jewish person in Qatar tried to pray publicly, say show religious symbols or conduct group worship openly in a public space, it could run into serious legal problems. Under Qatari law, public worship by non-Muslims is restricted. Groups not officially registered for public worship, which for non-Muslims usually means just certain Christian denominations, lack legal authorization to hold public services. That means a Jewish person would likely be limited to private worship. Publicly praying is a visibly group or organized way, would risk being deemed illegal, and could in theory lead to arrest, legal penalty, or deportation, or I would even imagine maybe something a little bit more. I bet you there's videos out there. I bet you there's stories out there. Tucker Carlson, for whatever reason, seems to be looking to not only destroy freaking the state of Israel, but he's looking to dump the Republican Party. There's a podcaster named Sean Ryan. He just had Tucker on, I think, a week or two ago. Here is Tucker Carlson talking about the Republican Party and poking fun at anybody who says they won't want Ma'am Danny. Go.
And on the Republican Party, which is almost to the point where it's just useless, and I'm going to have to oppose it because I hate them too much, but because they're such betrayers. But anyway, in the Republican Party, it's like, you a socialist? You from Mamdani? No, not really a socialist. Just, I don't want any more dollar stores. I don't want high density housing in my neighborhood. I don't want any more fucking strip malls that nobody goes to. No more karate studios and vape shops. Like, how about no?
So one of the little comments here I got from a Pedro is, if the white man is superior, who said that the white man is superior? I didn't ever say the white man is superior. I didn't say that at all. You're definitely not an example of it. Well, that's good. If you were so superior, why is it you can't work towards peace? Well, wait a second. Last time I checked, Pedro, the president of the United States is a white guy, and I think he just put 8 peace deals in place in a matter of 11 months. So there's error number 1 for you, sir. I guess superior to white guys like you doesn't mean being good, whatever that means. You mean being above everyone else and putting out a ladder that's too short for everyone else to reach. Dude, nobody put a ladder out. We don't have white privilege. There's no such thing, okay? That's like saying that there is a tooth fairy. Tooth fairy doesn't exist. How does the money get under your pillow if you're so lucky to get the 10 cents that you got for tooth back when I was a kid? It was from your parents. who basically were doing everything they could to try to make ends meet, to try to give their kids a life. All right? So there is no ladder. No ladder is placed out. I come from a house where my father took off and my mother had to work 2 different times in the day, 6, 7, 8 hours both times as a waitress, leave at 9 o'clock in the morning, come home at 10 o'clock at night. I'm by myself with my brother. You want to tell me that I had privilege? Then you just don't understand what the definition of privilege is. Everything you see around me, I built with my own 2 hands, took my own time to do it, worked my ass off. Maybe if more people would do that sort of thing, they too would wind up being in a great place. Look at Ben Carlson. He's black. He worked his ass off. He sat every single day in his house reading books. His mother didn't let him watch the television. Said, read the books. You're going to be something great. And what does he do? He freaking separates Siamese twins. I can go down the list. Look at Marco Rubio. I'm not a fan of the guy, but you know what? At the end of the day, he's a Latino guy, Pedro. Probably comes from the same cut you do. What has that guy done? He's worked his ass off. Even if I don't align with what it is he stands for all the time, he worked his ass off. He worked to become a U.S. senator. Then he worked his ass off to try to become president. Fell short, and what? Now he's the Secretary of State, one of the most powerful men in the entire world. So do not tell me that you need a ladder. Build your own ladder and climb it yourself. That's the American way. We'll give you the wood. We'll give you the nails. We'll give you the hammer, but we're not going to put it together for you. I wish you guys had your own country just so you guys and you would stay out of everyone else's. Maybe finish Trump's wall and have it go all the way around the United States. Nothing gets in and nothing gets out. Keep all that crazy locked up inside. It sounds like a peace on earth. Dude, let me tell you something. I'm assuming you're not here. You don't like it. We don't need you. We don't want you. It's very simple. And if you're offering something better than the United States, great. Put out a megaphone of it and get all the people who are here trying to leech off stuff that they shouldn't be getting, and they could go to your place and you can fund them. We're more than happy. We're more than happy to have our country to ourselves. But when I say we, I don't mean white people. I mean Americans. I mean Americans who have some skin in the game. Americans who are here because their parents and their grandparents freaking died on battlefields, worked their hands into the bone to build the United States of America, to make it the greatest country on earth. You sitting here and belittling what we did, I don't know where you're from, sir. I hope your country is doing really swell, but there's not another country on the face of the earth that even comes half as great as the United States of America. And to think that we had a ladder placed out for us is literal insanity. We don't need a wall. I've said it all day long. We don't need a wall. All we have to do is cut off the incentives for people to come and for people to stay who do not belong here and who do not love our country. You want to get the litmus test, Pedro? You want to come to the United States of America? Not a problem. On day one, I'm going to set you up with a uniform, camouflage, and then I'm going to make you and I'm going to have you go sit in a cave in Afghanistan and watch and realize the fact that if you take a wrong step, you could step on an IED. And if you do that for 1 year, I'll give you citizenship. But you know what? You're not willing to die for America. And the people who are here in this country, they're looking at us as an ATM machine. And we have an incredible amount of pissed off people because our families, our heritage is protecting this land and making it into what it is. And if you think that we're just going to sit here and just allow the world to pick at it and break it down, it ain't going to happen. It ain't going to happen. So you can write all the negativity you want on Facebook, but it doesn't change the truth. And that's it. Next. The President of the United States allowed the leader of Al-Qaeda, one of the leaders of Al-Qaeda, into the United States after a $10 million bounty was placed on his head for 13 or 11 years or whatever it was, normalized this guy, called him a tough guy and a good guy that's been through a lot of stuff. Can't understand where the hell that comes from. That sounds like something Joe Biden would say. And now has normalized this guy to where now he's sitting there at Doha as one of the leaders of the world. And he's asked by Christy Amanpour on whether or not the women in Syria are finally going to be treated normally. He doesn't answer anything about the women. Instead, he talks about who terrorists are. Instead of admitting that he is a terrorist, he tries to pawn it off that Israel is a terrorist. That's what this entire Doha thing was, to try to propaganda every single last message you possibly can about Israel and to try to lift these freaking maniacs who are all tied one way or another to friggin' extremism and terrorism to try to normalize that. So here's what this guy, the Syrian president, just said through an interpreter. Play it.
Saying that I was a terrorist and judging me as a terrorist is politicized. You know that there are many politicized opinions today. Judging on people as terrorists need to be proven, because what is the definition of terrorism or of a terrorist? It's been 25 years of us hearing this word in the world, but there is a lot of confusion in understanding the word terrorist. Terrorists, in my opinion, are those that kill innocent people, children, and women, and that use illegitimate means to harm people.
There you go. This guy has been normalized, and that normalization started in the United States through President Trump and Marco Rubio. It was a mistake. It was a bad move. It was a bad optic, and now he's allowed to sit on stage there with the Qataris, who are trying to sell through Tucker Carlson that they are normal, that they're good people. And then when you try to bring out the fact that they're living in caves in terms of their mentality about what women are and about who you can pray to and who you can't pray to, it's insanity for anybody to believe that when they put on that guy on stage and give him a platform. Also there was the former prime minister of Iran. So don't sit here and tell me that the Qataris are our ally, because the Iranians aren't our ally. They call for death to America. They got called out for it, and the rest of the Muslim world looked and said, okay, we don't want to do the Iran thing because we don't definitely want to get bombed. We need to play fake. We need to play fake. What better to do than to have Tucker Carlson come over and be our greatest champion? Look, I'll end on this. We didn't cut the clip because it was just too long and boring. But in the conversation between Tucker Carlson and the Prime Minister of Qatar, Tucker Carlson says, am I not mistaken that the reason why you fund Hamas is because the United States asked you to do that? And he says, yes, he did, about 2012. Well, who was the president in 2012? Barack Obama. Barack Obama, who said he wanted to fundamentally transform the United States of America, cuts a deal with the Qataris that they are now going to host and help pay for Hamas. And then the Netanyahu's got to come in and say he's got no choice because he can't lose the United States, because if he loses the United States, he's dead in the water. We're the only thing that keeps Israel from being obliterated. The only thing. And so, okay, I guess, so the Qataris will hold Hamas and help Hamas and get, and they position this as if they're trying to get aid to the Gaza people. Well, let me tell you something. 2012 was almost 15 years ago. What advancements have been used because of what Obama set up? What advancements, Tucker? I still see the people of Gaza living in the dirt. They say they can't get their food. If Qatar was such a great ally and had so much power and so much influence on creating this unity, why didn't it start in 2013? Why did we have an October 7th? Why is it constantly that I look and I see about how there's such starvation? It's all a mirage. And you want to know what the bigger thing? Tucker Carlson would never bring this up. The Muslim Brotherhood are protected by the Qataris. The top freaking perpetuators of terrorism in the Islamic world, ground zero is Qatar. You don't want to believe me? What about if you had a general, a U.S. general tell you instead, oh, you happen to have that DML? I do. Last video of the day, General Michael Flynn, in his own words, just last week to Steve Bannon, explains what Qatar is all about. Play it.
Qatar is the foundation, Steve, of a large terrorist organization and network globally. And so one of the things that they're going to have to do, and Trump is the guy to do it, is to basically disavow themselves from the Muslim Brotherhood, which I don't believe that they'll ever do. The other thing, one of the pieces of Qatar is that they have the Al Jazeera network, and Al Jazeera was always the mouthpiece for Al Qaeda, ISIS, you name the organization, and Al Jazeera continues to be the mouthpiece for them, as well as many other left-leaning European-based outlets too. So the financial, the logistic, the command and control, all of the sort of military terminology that runs commands and basically provides intent and vision for a global network emanates right there in Qatar for a large swath of some of the problems that we're facing today. Hamas, Hezbollah, Al Qaeda, the cooperation between.
So there you go. So I've placed it out for you. I gave you everything you need to know. You got to make your own decision. Don't just go along some way because I say it. Take the information we gave you today and put it into your brain and decipher who it is that you believe. Do you believe Tucker Carlson, that Qatar is our greatest ally and that this is a shining city on the hill worthy of a purchase of a home there because it represents freedom and you could go wherever you want when you're an American? Or do you believe General Flynn? That's up to you. Do you think the President of the United States, Donald J. Trump, should put in mandatory E-Verify if he really wanted to cap the problem and have more contractors get in their car and make videos about how they've never had more phone calls in a single week in the last God knows how many years? I gave you a lot of stuff today. It is up to you, if you believe, to share. And I'm not just talking about this program here. All throughout the day, back on our Facebook page, on my Twitter account, X account, I should say, x.com/trustdml. And now we're starting a YouTube presence as well. We'll talk about that in the next week or so. Share. When you see the little clips, share. If you don't believe, okay, then you know what? I ask you to come back again tomorrow. You're not going to get a 90-minute show. You're going to get a shorter one. We went long today. I was all fired up. But share. We need you to share. At the end of the day, I voted for Donald J. Trump 3 times. I have never met a more courageous man, gets shot, jumps up, says, fight, fight, fight. How many lawsuits against him? They tried taking his life. They tried taking his business. They tried taking his money. They tried taking his family, tried taking his reputation. He didn't cower away. He came back. I admire that. I also realize that nobody walks on water in Washington, D.C., including Donald J. Trump. So when we see him make mistakes, we try to explain why. When he doubles down on the mistake, we try to scream why. If he keeps on continuing down the wrong path, we are going to holler and do everything we possibly can to have him turn around. We haven't lost our country yet. We haven't lost the midterms yet. There's a lot of time to turn things around. And I'm hoping that the president finds the wherewithal to get that done. Otherwise, we're getting buried. We're getting buried. Till next time, may God bless all Americans, no matter your color of your skin, and your families, our president, and all of you. We'll talk to you soon.
Get the Dennis Michael Lynch podcast every day by subscribing on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, and download the DML News app from the Google Play Store or the Apple App Store for breaking news, merchandise, films, exclusive content, and Team DML.